Hi, Marilyn here with Cotton and Chocolate, and we're working on month 5 of Wave Pool, and now we're going to get ready for our piecing. So what you want to do is you want to go through, before you start making anything, and pay attention to your matching of like fabric B with background, fabric H with background, fabric A and G, etc. And count out and match up all your different sets before you start putting anything together to make sure you have your cutting correct and your size, etc. Okay, so I've done all that and I've matched it up. So you're going to use 16 fabric Bs and 16 backgrounds to make half square triangles. And again, I'm using my Quilter's Magic Wand. I drew a line down each one, and I just made a few of them for this demo today, but you need to make pair 16 and you're going to yield 32 half square triangles. And I did use my block and I cut them down to 3.5 inches. Okay, so these are for this particular one, and this is kind of your color guide here. And again, you're going to take 8 fabric H and a background, and you're going to get 16 half square triangles, trim them down to 3.5 inch square. And then you're going to take a fabric A and a fabric G, which are these two, and you're going to make 16 half square triangles, but do not trim them. Okay, keep them to this size, and we will get back to them in a little bit. We have something else to do with them on the back. So just hang tight, but these are the two matching for them. Now, you're going to come down to your fabric A 4.5 inch squares and your fabric G 4.5 inch squares. You're going to take those squares and you're going to cut them twice on the diagonal to get triangles. And I've already done that. And then this is the layout here. If you see this picture, you're going to lay them out just like this, okay? And you are going to sew 16 A and G triangles together. So this is the layout here. Lay them down. I lay them down on my machine just like this, and I pair them together and sew all 16 together. So I've sewn a few for the sample, and I press towards the green, and it's just because it's the darker one, okay? And it doesn't matter about this tag. You're going to have to cut these down. They end up a little bit bigger, so you will have to trim them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your fabric B, and you're going to cut that in half. Your fabric B 4 inch squares, and you're going to cut them in half once. So you have triangles, and these are going to get paired together. Now, you're going to notice that when you pair this together, this is bigger than this. So don't worry, you're just going to match it up on this raw edge, and I just kind of eyeballed it in the center. So that point is in the center. You don't have to measure it, and you're going to sew along that raw edge. And I have one sewn right here. This is a sample. And when you open this up, you're going to press towards that triangle, and it shows that right here that you're going to press towards the larger triangle. Okay? And then you need to cut this down to 3.5 inches. Okay? So that would be 1 3/4 if you're doing a regular square up. I did use my Tucker trimmer, and so your Tucker trimmer has a whole inch mark or a 1/2 inch mark. So I'm just going to lay this down on the 1/2 inch side at 3.5. And the lovely thing about it is, and I've shown this before, is it has your mark on the diagonal this way and diagonal this way at the 3.5. And so I can lay it here and cut it down first on this side, and then I will just turn it to clean it up this way, lay it down at the 3.5, and then again make sure that it's lined up at the point down here, this way, and then cut it down to 3.5. That's why I really love this Tucker trimmer. This is the Tucker trimmer 1. And I have my perfect square. So this is cut down to 3.5, okay? So you need to get 16 of these hourglass blocks, all right? So 16 right here. And that's what you're gonna be doing here. So that's the yield of all of these blocks here. I'll get them out of the way, but you need those for moving on. So let's turn over to the back, and we're going to go back to these half square triangles here that you made earlier that you did not cut down. You need to pair these with some of your 4 1/4 inch white backgrounds. So you're going to take and draw, before I put them down, I'm going to take and mark some of these down the middle with my quilter's magic wand. So I have this marked. Put this down here, so I have this going this way with my seam line here, and I'm going to lay this down, 2 of them, by laying this down at my 3 1/2, and then again trimming it down to 3 1/2 inches. So some of these I've already trimmed down. Okay, so now once you have that all done with all of these blocks, so there's a lot of half square triangles and some hourglass to make. Once you have that all done, you'll have all the components to make both blocks, some with just the half square triangles and plain white and background blocks with your 3 1/2 inch squares of white and half square triangles, and others with these hourglass that you've made for our second block. So now I'll lay out the blocks and show you how they go together. Okay, now we're ready to make our first block, which is, I have half of the block laid out over here. You're going to use your 16 fabric B half square triangles, 4 background 3 1/2 inch squares, and 5 fabric C 3 1/2 inch squares. Lay out the block in the orientation as shown, and sew the rows together, then sew the block together. You're going to make 2 of these. So, you know, you're going to have these half square triangles going this way, 4 of them, and then these squares here. So like I said, this is half of the block, okay? I pressed these 4 going out, and this going in, and so these going out, okay? So you can look at it and see for your pressing which way works best for you. And again, you're going to make 2 of these blocks, okay? So I kind of lay 2 sets on top of each other and then sew them accordingly as I go. So that's this block here. It should measure 15 1/2 inches square when you finish. Okay, so now everything else you have left should be going into this block, and you're going to make 4 of them, okay? So you're going to use 4 fabric H half square triangles, 4 fabric ABG modified hourglass blocks, 4 fabric AG modified hourglass block A's, and 4 fabric AG modified hourglass block B's. Lay out the block in the orientation. So you have to watch these so that you have these, you know, remember we were talking, these are mirror images, so they go together like this. You have your half square triangle. These are all cut down to 3 1/2. Okay, and then this hourglass here. So you're going to lay these out, and so basically there are 4 of these in each block. So you have your 2 modified hourglass here, this one here. So you have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is just 1/4 of the block. So you can basically make 4 times 4, 16 of these just laid out like this, and then lay it out in the block. And that's basically what I did. I made 16 of these just laid out like this, and then I flipped them for the block. And then I made 1 block, you know, you get where I'm going with this. Laid it out to make 1 block, and then moved on to make all 4, okay? Your unfinished block should measure 12 1/2 inches, and you'll have 4 of these. And you'll put both of these aside with your other blocks, and then we will be getting close, or actually getting very close to making the rest of the entire quilt. Okay, so we'll see you here for month 6 to finish making the rest of the blocks to finish up this quilt. Thanks so much.